I'm 79 years old, and I need to tell you something that might make you uncomfortable. For 60 years of my life, I believed that success was everything, that money meant love, that achievement meant respect, that if I built something big enough, important enough, my family would understand why I wasn't there. I was wrong about everything. 3 years ago, something happened that shattered every belief I'd spent my entire adult life building. It wasn't a heart attack. It wasn't a diagnosis. It was a piece of mail, an invitation. My daughter was getting married, and I found out from the return address on an envelope my assistant handed me. An envelope addressed to my office because my own child didn't have my home address. She hadn't invited me. She had invited 200 people to the most important day of her life, but not me, not her father, the man who provided everything for her, the man who paid for her college, her first car, her apartment, the man who wasn't there. I built a company worth $200 million. I was on magazine covers. I shook hands with senators. People called me a visionary. And my daughter didn't want me at her wedding. That envelope broke something in me. And from that broken place, I finally saw the truth. A truth I'd been running from for 6 decades. I had wasted my life, not in the way you might think, not by failing, not by losing. I wasted it by winning the wrong game entirely. And if you're listening to this, there's a good chance you're playing that same game right now. You're making the same mistakes I made. You're telling yourself the same lies. So let me tell you what 60 years of wrong choices taught me. Let me give you what I wish someone had given me. The truth. The envelope arrived on a Tuesday. It was September. I remember because the leaves were just starting to turn, and I'd been in back-to-back meetings since 7 in the morning. That's how my days worked. That's how they'd always worked. My assistant, Karen, handed me the mail like she did every afternoon. Bills, contracts, invitations to charity events I'd never attend. I was signing something, I don't even remember what, when I saw the cream-colored envelope. Elegant, formal. The return address said, Emily Richardson. That's my daughter's name, Emily, but Richardson was her mother's maiden name. She'd taken it when she was 22, when she stopped speaking to me. I hadn't heard from Emily in 7 years. I opened the envelope carefully. My hands were shaking. I told myself it was the coffee. Inside was a wedding invitation, thick cardstock, gold lettering, beautiful. Mr. and Mrs. David Richardson request the honor of your presence at the marriage of their daughter. I read that line 4 times. Mr. and Mrs. David Richardson, her stepfather's name, the man who'd been there, the man who'd shown up. My name was nowhere on the invitation. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was realizing why I'd received it at all. She'd sent it to my office, not as an invitation, as a statement. This is happening. You are not welcome, but you should know. I sat in my corner office, the one with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, and I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Nothing. Complete emptiness. I had everything a man could want, a 7-figure salary, a penthouse apartment, a collection of cars I barely drove, respect from everyone in my industry, and I had no one. My ex-wife remarried years ago. My son hadn't returned my calls since college. And now my daughter, my little girl, the one who used to climb into my lap and ask me to read her stories, was getting married without me. I asked myself a question that day, a question that changed everything. When did I become this man? I couldn't answer it. I couldn't point to a moment when I chose work over family. There was no single decision, no dramatic turning point, just 1,000 small choices. 1,000 times I said later, 1,000 evenings I didn't come home for dinner, 1,000 school plays and soccer games and birthdays I missed because the deal couldn't wait. It all seemed so important at the time. The merger, the acquisition, the quarterly numbers. And now I was 76 years old, sitting alone in an office that suddenly felt like a prison, holding proof that I had failed at the only thing that actually mattered. Being a father, I didn't go to the wedding. I wasn't welcome. But I did something I'd never done in 45 years of running that company. I left early. I went home. I sat in my empty apartment, and I cried. At 76 years old, I cried like I hadn't cried since I was a child, because I finally understood what I'd done, not to my career, not to my company, to my life. Let me tell you how I got there. Let me show you the pattern, because I guarantee you're following it right now. It started when I was 22, fresh out of college, hungry, ambitious. I told myself, when I make my first million, then I'll slow down. I made my first million at 31. I didn't slow down. I told myself, when I hit 10 million, then I'll take a vacation with the family. I hit 10 million at 38. We never took that vacation. I told myself, when the company goes public, then I'll be present. Then I'll be the father my kids deserve. The company went public when I was 44. By then, my kids didn't want me present anymore. Do you see the pattern? The goalposts kept moving. Every milestone I reached, I immediately replaced with a bigger one. More money, more growth, more proof that I was worthy. And while I was chasing those goalposts, my children were growing up without me. I have specific memories that haunt me now. Let me tell you about them. Emily was 8 years old when she had her first piano recital. It was a Tuesday evening, 6 o'clock. She'd been practicing for months. I was supposed to be there, but there was a crisis at work. There was always a crisis at work. An investor was threatening to pull out. Numbers needed to be presented. Hands needed to be shaken. I called my wife from the office. "I'll be there," I said. "Tell Emily I'll be there." I wasn't there. I showed up at home at 10 o'clock that night. Emily was already asleep. My wife handed me a program from the recital. "She kept looking at the door," she said. "She kept looking for you." I told myself I'd make it up to her. I never did. That became my pattern. Miss the moment. Promise to make it up later. Never actually make it up. I missed Michael's high school graduation because of a conference in Tokyo. I missed Emily's college acceptance celebration because of a board meeting that ran late. I missed birthdays, holidays, first dates, heartbreaks, all the moments when my children needed a father, not a check. I had money, I had success, I had the respect of strangers, but I didn't have my children. And here's what kills me now. Every single one of those crises at work solved themselves. Every urgent meeting forgotten within a week. Every deal that couldn't wait replaced by another deal that also couldn't wait. None of it mattered in the end. What mattered was my daughter's face at that piano recital, looking for a father who wasn't there. What mattered was my son's voice on those calls I never returned. What mattered was my wife, my first wife, the woman I loved, slowly giving up on me until there was nothing left to save. I had the career, I had the money, I had the reputation, but I didn't have a family. I had strangers who shared my last name. Let me tell you the biggest lie you're probably telling yourself right now. I have time. I'll do it later. When things calm down, I'll focus on what matters. Let me save you 60 years of regret with one simple truth. That day never comes. Things never calm down. There's always another project, another deadline, another opportunity you can't miss. And while you're waiting for life to slow down, life is passing you by. Your kids are growing up. Your parents are getting older. Your spouse is learning to live without you. And one day you'll look around and realize everyone you love has moved on because you weren't there. I used to tell myself that sacrifice was noble, that working 80-hour weeks made me a good provider, that my family would understand when they saw the results. You know what my family saw? An empty chair at dinner, a father who was always busy, a husband who loved his company more than his wife. They didn't see sacrifice, they saw abandonment. Here's something nobody tells you when you're young. Success is a terrible goal. And I say this as someone who achieved everything I set out to achieve. I built a company from nothing. I created jobs for thousands of people. I was featured in business schools as a case study in entrepreneurship. And you know what? None of it mattered. Not when I was sitting alone in my apartment holding a wedding invitation to an event I wasn't welcome at. Not when I realized my grandchildren, yes, I have grandchildren now, don't know my name. Not when I understood that my legacy wouldn't be the company I built. My legacy would be the children who grew up without a father. I want to tell you about a man I knew. His name was Robert. We were colleagues, competitors really. We came up together in the same industry. Robert was like me, driven, ambitious, successful. He worked himself into an early grave, died at 62, heart attack at his desk. At his funeral, his son stood up to give the eulogy. And do you know what he said? My father was a successful man. I read about his accomplishments in his company's press release. I wish I had known him. That was it. That was his son's final word about his father. I sat in that funeral and I told myself, that won't be me. I'll do better. But I didn't do better. I just lived longer. Is that the legacy you want? Your child reading about you in a press release? Your grandchildren seeing your face in old magazines instead of old photographs? Here's the truth nobody wants to admit. You can't buy back time. You can't throw money at the years you wasted. You can't negotiate with your children the way you negotiate with investors. They don't want your money. They want you. And by the time you realize that, it might be too late. You know what keeps me up at night? Not the deals I lost, not the competitors who beat me, not the investments that went wrong. What keeps me up are the moments I can never get back. Let me tell you about them. My daughter Emily took her first steps on a Sunday afternoon. I know this because my wife filmed it. She called me at the office crying with joy. She's walking. Emily's walking. I told her I'd watch the video when I got home. I didn't get home until midnight. Emily was asleep. I never watched the video. And now I can never watch my daughter take her first steps in person. That moment is gone forever. My son Michael asked me to coach his Little League team when he was 9 years old. His eyes were so hopeful. Please, Dad. All the other dads are doing it. I said maybe next season. There was no next season. He stopped playing baseball. He stopped asking me for anything. There was a trip to Italy my wife begged me to take, our 20th anniversary. She'd been dreaming about Rome since she was a little girl. The Colosseum, the Vatican, throwing coins in the Trevi Fountain. I told her we'd go when things slowed down at work. We divorced 3 years later. She went to Italy with her new husband. I saw the photos on Facebook. My father died when I was 54. He was 81. In his final weeks, he asked to see me, just to talk, just to spend time together. I visited twice in 3 weeks. Both times I cut the visit short because of conference calls. The last thing my father said to me was, "I wish I knew you better, son." I told him we'd have plenty of time to talk when he got better. He died 2 days later. I never said goodbye. I never said I love you. I never said thank you for everything you sacrificed for me. Those words died with him. There's a letter in my desk drawer. I wrote it to Emily 5 years ago. An apology, an explanation. Everything I wanted to say to her but never had the courage to mail. I keep telling myself I'll send it when the time is right. The time is never right. And now I'm 79 years old and I'm still waiting, still postponing, still telling myself later. You'd think I'd have learned by now. Some habits are harder to break than others. After that wedding invitation, something shifted in me. I was 76 years old. Most of my life was behind me. I couldn't change the past. I couldn't undo the damage I'd done, but I could stop making it worse. So I made changes, big ones. I stepped back from the company, not completely. Old habits die hard, but significantly. I promoted people who deserved it. I delegated responsibilities I'd been hoarding for decades. I started leaving the office at 5 o'clock. For the first time in 50 years, I ate dinner at a normal hour. It felt strange, almost uncomfortable. I didn't know what to do with myself, so I started doing things I'd always said I'd do someday. I learned to cook real meals, not just reheating takeout. There's something meditative about chopping vegetables, something grounding about creating something with your hands that isn't a business plan. I started taking walks, long ones. Through parks I'd driven past for years, but never stopped to visit. I noticed things I'd never noticed before. The way light filters through trees in the afternoon, the sound of children laughing, the simple pleasure of having nowhere to be. I wrote letters to Emily, to Michael, to my ex-wife. I didn't expect responses. I just needed to say what I should have said decades ago. I'm sorry, I was wrong. I love you. Please forgive me. Some of those letters were returned unopened. Some weren't. I don't know if anyone read them, but I sent them. I also started therapy. At 76 years old, sitting in a room with a woman half my age, talking about my feelings. If you'd told the old me I'd be doing that, I would have laughed. But it helped. It's still helping. I'm 79 now. I've been living differently for 3 years. 3 years out of 79. And you know what? These have been the best 3 years of my life. I'm happier now at 79 with less time ahead of me than I was at 40 when I thought I had all the time in the world. I have less money than I used to, less status, less power, but I have peace. I have mornings where I don't wake up anxious. I have evenings where I don't fall asleep exhausted. I have moments, small quiet moments, where I actually feel alive. It took me 76 years to get here. Don't let it take you that long. Now I want to talk to you. Yes, you, the person listening to this right now, the person who's probably thinking, that's a sad story, but it doesn't apply to me. It does apply to you. Let me ask you something, and I want you to answer honestly. If you died tomorrow, would you be satisfied with the life you've lived so far? Not, would people be impressed by your eulogy? Not, did you achieve enough? Not, did you make enough money? Just, would you be satisfied? Would you look back and say, I lived a good life. I was there for the people I loved. I didn't waste my time on things that didn't matter. Or would you have regrets? Would there be phone calls you wished you'd made? Trips you wished you'd taken? Words you wished you'd said? I know what you're thinking. I'm different. I'm balancing things better. I'm not as extreme as this guy. Maybe. Or maybe you're just telling yourself that. Let me ask you this. When was the last time you had dinner with your family without checking your phone? When was the last time you took a vacation without bringing your laptop? When was the last time you told someone you loved them, just because, not because you were saying goodbye or ending a phone call? When was the last time you were fully present in a moment instead of thinking about what came next? I know the excuses. I invented most of them. But I'm building something important. So was I. It didn't matter. But my family understands. No, they don't. They tolerate. There's a difference. But I'll make more time later when things calm down. Things never calm down. Later never comes. And one day you'll wake up and realize later has turned into too late. You think you're the exception. You're not. You think you can have it all. The career and the family. The success and the relationships, the achievements and the presents. Maybe you can, but not the way you're doing it now. Not by choosing work every time. Not by telling yourself the people you love will always be there. They won't always be there. Your parents are getting older. Every day you don't call could be the last chance you had. Your children are growing up. Every moment you miss is a moment you can never get back. Your spouse is watching. They're taking notes. They're deciding how much longer they can live with an empty chair at the table. Don't wake up at 76 with a wedding invitation you weren't supposed to receive. Don't spend your final years writing letters to people who won't open them. Don't be me. I'm telling you this as someone who made every mistake you're making, who believed every lie you believe, who wasted 60 years before figuring out what mattered. You don't have to waste 60 years. You can figure it out now, today, this moment. The question is, will you? If I could go back and talk to my 22-year-old self, here's what I would say. Stop. Stop believing that success will make you happy. It won't. I promise you, it won't. Stop putting off the important conversations. Later is a lie you tell yourself to avoid discomfort. Stop sacrificing your health for your career. No amount of money is worth dying young. Stop checking your phone during dinner. The emails can wait. Your family can't. Stop waiting for the perfect moment to tell people you love them. The perfect moment is now. Stop assuming your relationships will survive neglect. They won't. They'll fade so slowly, you won't notice until they're gone. Stop telling yourself you have time. You don't. None of us do. Start calling your parents. Today, not tomorrow, not next week. Today. Tell them you love them. Ask them about their lives, listen to their stories, because one day you won't be able to call anymore. Start showing up for your kids, not with gifts, not with money, with your presence. Be at the games, be at the recitals, be at the dinner table, be there. Start taking the trips you've been postponing. You are not guaranteed another year, another month, another week. Go now. Start having the conversations you've been avoiding. Apologize to the people you've hurt. Forgive the people who've hurt you. Say the things that scare you. Start living like your time is limited, because it is. Here's what I want you to do. If you have a parent who's still alive, call them when this video ends. Not tomorrow, not when you have time, now. If you have a child you've been neglecting, put something on your calendar this week. Something that matters to them, something where you're fully present. If you have a spouse you've been taking for granted, plan a date, a real date. No phones, no interruptions. Just the two of you, like it was in the beginning. If there's someone you need to forgive, write them a letter. You don't have to send it, but write it. If there's a dream you've been postponing, take one step toward it today. Not a big step, just one step. Prove to yourself that you're serious. You don't have to change your whole life in one day. But you have to start. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when things calm down. Now. Do it now. I'm 79 years old. I've been living differently for 3 years. 3 years out of 79. That's it. 3 years of actually being present. 3 years of prioritizing what matters. 3 years of living instead of just achieving. And these have been the best 3 years of my life. But here's what keeps me up at night. I would give everything, the money, the company, the reputation, all of it, to have those 60 years back, to have started living at 25 instead of 76. Think about that. 60 years. 60 years of dinners I could have shared with my family, 60 years of conversations with my children, 60 years of being present instead of absent. Gone, I can't get them back. No amount of regret will change what happened. No amount of money will buy me more time with the people I love. But you still have your years ahead of you. You still have the chance to be there for the recital, to take the trip, to make the call, to say the words. That's why I'm telling you this. Not because I want pity, not because I want absolution, because I want you to learn from my mistakes instead of making your own. The irony is, when you truly understand that time is limited, you start to actually live. You stop wasting it on things that don't matter. You stop postponing joy. You stop waiting for permission. You just live. I only wish I'd understood that sooner. I'm trying to make amends now. I'm still writing those letters, still hoping for a response, still leaving the door open. Last month, Michael called me, my son, the one who hadn't returned my calls in 15 years. We talked for 20 minutes. It was awkward, painful, beautiful. He said he'd think about meeting for coffee. It's not forgiveness, not yet, but it's a start. And at 79, a start is all I can ask for. You have a choice right now. You can close this video and go back to your life, back to the emails, back to the deadlines, back to telling yourself that you'll make time for what matters when things calm down. Or you can wake up, you can realize that time is running out faster than you think, that the people you love won't wait forever, that the life you're waiting to live needs to start now. I wasted 60 years learning what I'm telling you in 20 minutes. Don't waste yours. The promotion isn't worth missing your daughter's childhood. The deal isn't worth losing your marriage. The success isn't worth dying alone. I know because I made every one of those trades, and I lost. You don't have to lose. Not if you start now. Not if you choose differently. Someday is today. It always has been. The only question is whether you're brave enough to admit it. If this resonated with you, I hope you'll share it. Not for me. My story is almost over, but somewhere out there, there's a 30-year-old making the same mistakes I made. There's a 40-year-old missing their kids' childhoods. There's a 50-year-old who still thinks they have time. Maybe this video finds them before it's too late. Subscribe if you want more conversations like this. I have more truths to share, and honestly, not much time left to share them. Leave a comment below. Tell me what you're going to do differently. Tell me about the call you're going to make, the trip you're going to take, the words you're finally going to say. I read every comment. And at 79, reading your stories reminds me that this all meant something. Thank you for your time. It's the most valuable thing you have. Don't waste it like I did.